And this is Paul Cooney with Mark Guidi, the last of the 1 hour specials this summer. Mark, it's the final friendly for the defending champion Celtic tonight. He's won 22 medals, 11 of them titles. James Forrest, testimonial tonight, Atletico Bilbao, 7:30.
Yeah, and well deserved. I think it's more than 50,000 is going to be inside Celtic Park tonight. A wonderful turnout for a player who has no ego, Paul, but has delivered time and time again. Met James a few times. Very talented footballer, very humble person, and a credit to himself and his family, and he deserves this big turnout tonight.
467 games, remarkable. If you're going to the game, give us a call, 0808 17 17 700. Celtic kick off the campaign. Cinch Premiership starts lunchtime on Saturday. Celtic against Ross County, and it's going to be the unfurling of the flag. It's going to be James Forrest. Nice touch.
It is, yeah, and again, it's few and far between now, players who get testimonials. Callum McGregor may well be next, of course, but yeah, James Forrest, enjoy the moment, share it with his family, share it with the Celtic supporters. Atletico Bilbao will come there and we'll make a game of it, Paul, and it's the first chance for the Celtic supporters. Well, a lot of them would have been in Dublin at the weekend for the Wales game, but to see them in action at Celtic Park, 3 or 4 new signings possibly going to be involved. So yeah, it'll be a good occasion tonight at Celtic Park, and their final game before they unfurl the flag on Saturday lunchtime. Some
of the Rangers fans were at Ibrox for an open training session today, and they saw Connor Goldson back training.
Yeah, Connor Goldson is a stalwart at the back for Rangers. There's been a shout, Paul, that Steven Gerrard may be interested in taking him to Saudi Arabia. I don't know really, to be honest, if there's anything in that at the moment, but certainly Steven Gerrard rated Goldson highly, but Rangers would not want to lose Connor Goldson, that's for sure. Michael Beale sees him as part of the long-term plan.
For sure, because arguably they will need more defenders. Balogun's come in, but surely he's in as cover. John Souttar, you'd love to think that he could go the whole course, and maybe he can this season.
Yeah.
But you would expect more to come in.
Yeah, they've got Sterling who's injured. I know they think very highly of Sterling. Wonderful pace. Can play in the right back area or in a back three as well. And as you say about John Souttar, big season for him at club level. He was very, very unlucky last season in terms of injuries ravaged him in terms of what he could do for Rangers. But a big season for Rangers and for John as well to make sure he stays involved at the international set up for Steve Clarke, because we've got a massive 11 months ahead of us.
It's going to be some season, and it starts this week. All the talking is just about over. Rangers kick off the campaign later on, 5:15 on Saturday at Rugby Park. I'll tell you who's in charge of the two games. It's going to be Willie Collum in charge at Rugby Park, and Nick Walsh in charge of Celtic against Ross County. Shall we take some calls? You ready, Mark?
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
0808 17 17 700, or join the conversation at Go Football Show. First up from the Gorbals, it's Gary. Good evening, Gary.
Evening, Paul. Evening, Mark.
Hi, Gary.
How you doing? You looking forward to you going to the match tonight?
Yeah, all set to go very soon. One of our own, basically. A one club man rather. And I really hope Celtic Park is packed out for it, because it really should be we're famous for kind of losing our hearts to players like Jota, managers like Ange, who kind of come and go. They're 10 a penny. They're special. They give us special moments. As they have done over the last few seasons, but none more so than players like James Forrest and Callum McGregor, who have just shown so much loyalty to the club. And as I say, I hope the Celtic fans turn out in numbers tonight.
That's a great point, Mark, isn't it? Because he is a bit of an unsung hero. Despite 11 titles, is it 6 Scottish Cups and 5 League Cups?
Yeah, and part of all the treble successes, the quadruple treble. You think again, what must be exciting for the Celtic players and every Celtic fan, Paul, is you look at the James Forrest that Brendan Rodgers inherited and what he turned him into for 2 seasons. He was outstanding and played in the number 10 role sometimes as well. Came inside and played a real big part in the success of that a couple of years. And it's right, your Jotas are sexy and they get the headlines and stuff like that, whereas James just gets on with his business. But he's done it over a period since, and credit to Neil Lennon. He identified him in the Celtic reserves, nurtured him as soon as Neil got the job permanently after Tony Mowbray. He get James Forrest involved, and James has never looked back. So yeah, I mean, Celtic Park will be packed tonight. There will be over 50,000 there. Let's hope it hits the 60. Let's hope it's absolutely every seat taken. And it's a chance to see a couple of new signings, see Brendan Rodgers back at Celtic Park the first time in a game, and obviously the most important thing, paying tribute to James Forrest.
Gary, you're looking forward to seeing Navrocki for the first time?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the most of the new players. Hopefully we get a good look at all of them. I'd imagine that Brendan Rodgers will probably kind of go with, or at very least finish with, the team that he's going to probably start with on Saturday against Ross County. I'm not too sure what to expect from the new guys. I seen a wee bit of them on Saturday against when we played Wolves. But, listen, if they can slot in well, my worry is for Carl Starfelt in terms of this, this ongoing rumour that he might be leaving the club kind of thing, because we really need to solidify that defence like we did last season, him and Carter Vickers at the back.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have expected to start the game at the weekend with Liam Scales, for example, and that's nothing against him, but it looks as though he might go back to Aberdeen, or Stephen Welsh at right back.
Yeah, Gary, I certainly would be concerned about rumours, and if Carol Starfelt's going to go, then he'll go. If the club could get a fee that suits them, and they might have somebody else lined up. But at the moment, don't concern yourself with rumours. Not this time of season. There's still a month of the transfer window to go, so there's plenty to come. Believe me. So look, don't be concerned about that. Carol Starfelt is a right good Celtic player. He's really come on. He's played a big part in what happened, the success under Ange Postecoglou. And if something else happens, then fair enough. But at the moment, we'll just crack on and see how he gets on. Let's Milwaukee, Carter Vickers isn't far away. Paul as well, and what a boost it'll be to Celtic to get Cameron Carter Vickers back, because with the greatest respect to all the other players at the club, he is by far the best defender at the club, and for me he's also the best defender in Scottish football.
Best in Scotland. Mark, loads of journalists and people have made careers of rumours over the years. Some great journalists as well. It's part of the thing, keeps it all going for all of us. But that's a great point you make. Let's wait to see what happens there. Gary, do you expect a few more signings? I think the Celtic fans do. We'll hear a bit from Brendan Rodgers. But what's your thinking on it? Another striker?
Yeah, I'd like to see another striker come in. I think we've still to see the best of all up front, and obviously Tilly-owned players like that, they can adapt as forwards into strikers kind of thing. So more along the back line. I think I would like to see a striker come in, but I think across the back line, maybe another centre back and possibly another left back.
What about the goalkeeping position? What do you feel, Gary?
Well, do you know what? I think there's a lot of bad press against Joe Hart now for the Celtic fans, and we always bang on as Celtic fans about loyalty. Players don't show loyalty to the club. Well, Joe Hart's shown loyalty to Celtic, and I just feel he's getting very, very hard done to. For £1 million signing, he's been tremendous. He's been absolutely tremendous, and listen, he's getting on in years, but I don't think there's any real reason to worry this season. I think maybe in January you could probably start looking at bringing in a top-class keeper to replace him. But I have no worry about Joe Hart for this season, to be fair.
Mark?
No, I've no worry about him either. I know obviously he didn't cover himself in glory with the goal against Wolves at the weekend, and against Yokohama a couple of weeks ago in Japan. But I pretty much agree with what Gary says. I've supported Joe Hart. He's a top quality goalkeeper, and what you got to do in a situation like this, Paul, you've got to judge what Brendan Rodgers feels. Now, if Brendan Rodgers feels he needs to get a goal, they'll be trying to get one in the background. They've been linked with one or two top goalkeepers now. Whether they can go and get them or not is another story. But there's no point in just signing a goalie for the sake of it. And by the way, let's not forget, for every mistake that Joe Hart's made, he's probably made 4 or 5 crackers. And when they get to a certain age, cracking saves that is, when they get to a certain age, it was the same with Alan McGregor the last couple of years. As soon as he made them, say, oh, that's it, he's past it, he's that. Age is just a number. It's just a number, particularly for a goalie. So wait and see. If Celtic go and sign somebody, and don't underestimate how important goalkeepers are, and if you do find one at the 7-8 million quid mark and you feel that he can make a huge difference to the back line of your team, then I would go and pay it as much as I would pay £8 million for a striker. And on your point about the striker, so Kyogo's there and O's there. Now, if you bring in a third striker, how do you keep him happy if you only play one up top? And if you think back to Brendan Rodgers' first time at the club, he was asked to bring in a third striker or a fourth striker. He says, but I only play with one up top. I don't need it. So unless you think somebody's going to be injured or out long term, you certainly don't spend a lot of money on a third striker. And I agree, Kyogo's different class, as we know. And I like the look of him. He gives the Celtic side something different when he comes on. He's different from Kyogo. So I don't see a rush to sign a new striker. And certainly if they do, I don't think you're paying big money for him.
Gary, what do you feel about across the city and Rangers signings? 8 so far. It looks as though Cifuentes, I see at the training day, the manager, Michael Beale, said, watch the airport for the next 48 hours. So could someone else be coming in? And Barry on this programme on Monday said there's at least one more to come. What do you feel?
Yeah, I think they're definitely, listen, they had to do something for this season coming. You know, I think Cantwell, if he can start doing his talking on the pitch, then, you know, about a TikTok star, but if he can start doing his talking on the pitch, and I believe Rangers have got a really good player for the money that they paid for him. You know, Danilo's stats talk for themselves, do you know what I mean? If he can replicate that, but it's all ifs and buts at this stage. You know, it's not players that I know a great deal about. You know, I think was it Boy Sterling is, you know, I think a few loan moves he's had in his career. I think Butland will be a decent signing for them. You know, but I think that they're still going to miss that presence that Ryan Kent had at one point and Morelos had at one point. I know they didn't have great seasons last year, but it's now they've got to replicate what they've given kind of thing. And I do think it'll be a lot closer than it has been.
Do you think?
Probably over absolutely. I think Rangers were close last year in getting a cup. You know, got to cup final, cup semi-final. I don't see us doing a treble, but listen, bread and butter, go and win the league, and then I'm perfectly happy with that.
You know, see, if you look at the signings in both, because obviously also Rangers they've signed a lot more players because they had to. There was a bigger turnaround in the squad. But Gary says a bit of an unknown with Rangers, and it's the same with Celtic, Paul. And that's the thing. There's no household names. The Jack Butland we know about, but what's he going to be like? Because he's not played first team football for 2 years, regular first team football. It was a bit like Joe Hart. Joe Hart was a household name, but he hadn't played regular football for a couple of years, so you didn't really know what you were getting, other than the fact that 5 or 6 years ago he was very good and he was England's number one.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, out with Joe Hart, and I come, when was the last time Celtic or Rangers signed what we would term as a household name, as in somebody you're watching on UK football week in, week out, that we know? Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah, sure.
Didn't he work? Didn't he work?
Yeah, I mean,
so
that's
the thing about Celtic and Rangers players that must be really exciting for the whole city, Paul, particularly into this weekend when the league action starts. They are pretty much all unknown. They might all do well, or they might not. They're not coming here with fantastic pedigrees with 200 first team games under their belts and 50 or 60 goals at a high level. So they've signed a few unknowns, which I think is good. It's good to see it, and it's good to see how it all works out. Because
remember, a few years ago it would be the Craig Bellamy's coming to town, for example. You know, Bobby Keane. You know, but now they can go to the Middle East. You know, the equivalents, the big names. The days of the big names coming up here at 32, 33 may have gone. But the excitement, as you say, is, well, nobody knew Hatate, you know, a couple of years ago.
You look at Ange Postecoglou's first signing spell, first wave. Abada, Jota, Carter Vickers. Didn't know anything apart from James McCarthy. Didn't know anything. Bernabei, never heard of him. You know, so you look at guys like that. Juranovic, no, don't know much about him. You look at Rangers 5 or 6 signings this summer, don't know much about them at all. So that's the good thing, which makes it really exciting. But particularly for the Rangers players, bearing in mind this time next week they're going to go into Champions League qualifiers, they need to hit the ground running, and the manager needs to find partnerships that are going to work, because they've had 1 or 2 shaky moments at the back as well in the past couple of games, and they need to get that right, especially when you're going to such a tough place as Rugby Park on Saturday night.
Here's a bit from Brendan Rodgers saying, you know, naturally he's looking, it was a treble last season, but he thinks the team can improve.
We want to improve the squad. I think everyone looks and thinks that we might be bringing in a 15-20 million pound player. Now the reality is that won't be the case. It's not where the club is based on, but that doesn't mean there's not talented players out there that we want. So there's still quite a way to go in the window. So we'll look to improve the squad again and continue with that. We've done a lot of early business, which has been great, and that allows the players to come in and settle. And of course, we want to do some more. So, but I'm quite calm in that. And as I said, the players that we have are working very well, and we'll look to bring some more in to help them.
2 hours and 10 minutes to go, Gary, till kick-off. What kind of reception will the manager get?
I think, well, I would hope he'd get a very good one. I think obviously this is the testing ground for Saturday. I think it was, I can't remember who it was I was listening to. It says, it doesn't matter what's went on in the past, what's happened in the past. All the Celtic fans, as of Saturday, need to start pulling in the same direction. You can have opinions on the manager and what happened when he left the last time. But, we've all got to be pulling in the same direction, singing off the same hymn sheet. And, we've all just got to get behind the team, because that's the only way we're going to go forward. And as for the 15-20 million pound marquee signings, and, I think they are long gone. And the Celtic fans are not desperate to see a 15-20 million pound player. What they want to see is very good, really talented players coming in. And I don't care if it costs 15 million or 150 grand. As long as they can do the business on the pitch for Celtic, then I'm perfectly happy with that.
I think that's well summarised, Mark. Yeah, for sure.
It is, absolutely. Yep, you've summed it up well there, Gary. Certainly 15 won't be happening. I would be surprised. The good thing for Celtic is if they see a player that really catches their eye and he costs 9 or 10, they have the financial muscle to go and do it. That's the thing that they have in the locker. But quite rightly, Brendan Rodgers and the board, they won't spend just for the sake of it. And on the point tonight, and I'm forgetting it's Brendan Rodgers' first game back at Celtic Park as well as manager, I hope he gets a wonderful reception from the Celtic fans. And I think it would be a shocker if he didn't, if the whole of Celtic Park wasn't united tonight behind the new manager.
Mark, you have to forgive him, Gary, because he's just off a flight back from Washington. You were over there. You took in Villa at the weekend. Yeah,
I was over for a few days, and watched Aston Villa against Brentford 3 each. Game, really good game. It was good. Great City, Paul, enjoyed it.
How was John McGinn?
Yeah, he was in good form. He played well, captained the team, played for an hour, then come off. But Unai Emery absolutely loves him, and he's buzzing with the Aston Villa skipper, buzzing for the new season.
And what a big year for John and Scotland. Hopefully, we hope this time next year we'll have been to Germany.
Yeah, and of course Aaron Hickey's playing for Brentford as well. So he's there. Then it was Chelsea and Fulham after it. So Hickey's a massive player for Scotland, Paul. He's Hickey. The field down the road and within the Scotland camp, Hickey's going to be a superstar, an absolute superstar.
I hear you saying yes, Gary. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. I think that spell he's had in Italy, and now come over to Brentford, who have done really well in the Premier League so far. Funnily enough, I was in America myself. I was in Florida for a few weeks and took in one of the MLS games at Orlando City.
I thought your accent had changed a wee bit. I thought that's not a Gorbals accent. Well, which one did you take in just before we go?
Orlando City and Chicago Fire. Do you know what? I've actually I managed to get one of the players' jerseys after the game.
Oh,
so
did you? Yeah.
Kind of got a soft spot for Orlando City now.
Fantastic.
So I'm kind of looking out for the results.
Gary, enjoy the match tonight.